So I just took delivery of this 82 911 SC and loving it, but I'm already encountering some of the needed lacking maintenance from the previous owner. One is the fuel line. Um, Now I don't know if I bought it from Go Wing Motors, and I'm not sure if they missed it or what the deal is. But if you put more than a half tank in it, um, or close to a half tank, it would leak just sitting overnight. And it was actually the return line was leaking. Now, that is something interesting here. I was going to go with the old Air Cool 911s. There has been for a long time a person on Pelican forums that by the name of Len that makes custom fuel lines for this car. They go through the tunnel out to the back of the engine. And they're popular because they're two-piece, unlike the factory OE lines, which you can still get for the old air-cooled cars. Why Len's is popular is because, I don't know if you can see this. I'll put some light here. Where it goes in a tunnel now, I'm in the front of the car. Here's the fuel pump. Again, this is an 82 911 SE, but this pretty much covers a lot of that year from 74 through 89. Now, there's going to be some differences. I think the fuel pump's different on the location in the earlier cars, but I'm just going to focus on the 80 and up through 89. But if yours is similar, you can pretty much figure it out from here. But so here's the two lines coming in. Now here's the on the fuel tank. Again, this is the front of the car. There's the drain, the big Allen drain plug. There's the high pressure line coming from the fuel pump. Well, it's high pressure after that. Goes into a banjo. Somebody, the previous owner, this is a Florida car, but the previous owner or somebody already did a conversion. Now, this is very common with these cars. Instead of replacing the whole plastic line, because the line goes from rubber, and then I think it's a different material where it unions here at the connector, like a barb connector with the, and here's the factory crimp that I had to cut to get them apart, but. The line that's leaking on this car is actually the return line. So it's here's the line coming from the tank, out from the tank, fuel pump, the banjo, high pressure, goes over. Somebody replaced this line that connects to the tunnel lines, okay? So the tunnel lines are a different material, like I said, like a plastic or a polyamide that go through the tunnel, and they generally don't have as many issues as the outside rubber lines. And if you look at this, this is dry rotted and cracking, probably the OE line from back to 1982 when this car was made, and it came apart basically in pieces. It's real hard and brittle. But many have commented, and if you look at Pelican forums on the older air-cooled cars, a lot of people do this. I wouldn't say it's a hack, but if you're trying to get a quick fix, obviously this is not a daily transport car, so I really don't care either way. But you can do this because the plastic lines generally don't have the same problems or age the same as these rubber ones. So what you can do is you can undo, if you can, oh, let me show you, showing you the wrong hose. There's a chunk of hose. You can take the factory crimps on each end and then where it meets into before it goes into a tunnel, and that's like a barb. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm pointing right to it. Let me see if I can. There's another barb. You have to take the crimps off, and it's tedious because you have no room to work there. But here it's a little bit easier because you can disconnect it from the tank, the return line, and then you can cut it, and you can work on it on a bench, in a vise or whatever, and it's easier to separate. You can take like a die grinding tool and just slit it along the side. I actually used, because this was the one that was going to the before the tunnel, the union there. I actually took an angled file, a small little file, and just kind of worked it. It took a little bit of time, but it split it, and I was able to separate it and get to the barbs. And now I can buy a 5/16 line with the proper clamps. You got to use the proper fuel injection clamps, and I could splice this in for a temporary fix. I wouldn't call this a permanent fix. The best way is to replace them. Now, Len's is popular because they're easier to install, and because you have no working room here. His lines are basically two-piece. He has the plastic lines going through the tunnel out to the back, and you can run them. They're easier to run, and they'll exit right here, and he has like a compression, a nut clamp, and then you'll have the ones that kind of snake over the cross member, and then one will go to the banjo here to the hope you can see it here because I can't really see what I'm doing. One goes, that's the pressure side, and the other will go to the return line. You can do that with the factory OE lines, which are still available. And, Lens's kit is great, but he's about $250 to $300 more. But, obviously it's a nice custom kit, 2-piece, a little bit more work goes into it. It's a lot more work goes into it. And the beauty is if you have a leak, you got sections where you can, the outside section here that goes from the pump into the gas tank, from the return line to before it enters the tunnel in the car, you have that ability to separate those lines and deal with them separately. You can do that with the factory OE lines, but what it's going to involve, and this is going to make everybody cringe, as soon as you get them out of the bag brand new, the return line's you can get them for the return line for about $220 for this car, the air-cooled cars, and the pressure line, which has got the banjo, it's all one. These are one piece. The factory versus Lens are 2-piece each. And I say each line. The return line is 2 pieces. The feed line, pressure feed line, is 2 pieces. The factory OEs are 1 piece each. You can make them 2 pieces by doing exactly what I did here and cutting along the edge. That'll make you grit your teeth. There is on a brand new clamp, because they're not cheap hoses. And you would have to cut it and pull it apart where you'd have the barb on each side. Let me show you. And this is where it leaves the tank. This is the return where it leaves the tank. See at the end right here? That's just the standard. You could slip a high pressure fuel injection rated hose, 300 PSI, so it's burst proof, so it can withstand the pressure. You probably wouldn't need it as much pressure on the return, because I think that's less pressure than the one that actually leaves the fuel pump. But I would just keep it all copacetic and keep it the same for same, and buy all high pressure lines. And you can make your own line from the brand new lines right out of the package. You get it to that point, put it on with the proper fuel injection clamps, rated clamps. Don't use the banjo style where you tighten them and they kind of bulge around the end. You want to use the correct fuel line clamps. So this will leave here. I don't know if you can see it. After it leaves the line, let's see, I can't remember which way it went. I think it went like that or like that. And then it goes over the cross member through a little clamp that holds them up. And then you would use another clamp here, like somebody did with this repair earlier. They didn't replace the tunnel lines. Now, many people will say that's not a proper fix because you got the plastic polyamide lines that go through the tunnel. But a lot of people have been doing this for a long time on these old air-cooled 911s, and they have had no problems. I mean, when I posted it on one of the forums, people said, well, why don't you just, repair the actual line and separate it? And if you could do that, it will get you by for a couple years. It's not anything that's going to cause any fire as long as you use the right clamps. And as long as the lines are good inside, you're fine. So best way to do it is to buy the new lines. But again, you could take the OE portion lines and make them 2-piece, where again you would have to cut these off. They'll be nice and shiny and new, so it'll be even harder to get your mind wrapped around that. The factory crimped, when they build the hose at the factory, whoever makes the hose, I don't know who makes them for Porsche, the replacement line, and you can get it where it's like this on each end. That'll be obviously too short at that point because you've already cut it, likely too short. So what you'll do is you'll go buy 300 PSI fuel injection rated, and you can run it over there and make it like a 2-piece like Lens, and it'll be about $300, $250, $300 cheaper if you want to save some money. Now, it's not about saving the money, but it's more about the option of making them 2-piece like Lens, and you can do that with the factory OE lines. It just takes a little bit more work. Okay, so I am going to go ahead to AutoZone and get some proper hose, 300 PSI hose, and I just want to test my theory. Well, I don't really have to test it because somebody's already did this. It looks like an old repair for the pressure side, the actual feed side. So, like I said, it's done on forums for over 25 years. People have posted it. So the only reason I think this may be a good thing to get your head wrapped around it if you own an old air-cooled 911 is that Len may be getting to the point. And actually, Fran's channel, Fran and Heidi, I caught her video on her replacing the actual lines on her 3.2 Carrera convertible. Now she had the engine out, which makes it a lot easier in the back because you don't have much room to work back there. But she even made a comment when I posted about, thanks for the video. She says, I'd be interested. She commented, I'd be interested to know if Len's still making them because he has been making them for many years. He may be getting to the point where he's retiring from that. Making those type of lines. So you may, if you want to get your own two-piece, the easiest way to do would be, again, to order the OE factory lines and make them two pieces. So you can change them if you had a leak here under the cross member. You can separate them just with new clamps and new hose. So just thought I'd mention that. Okay, thanks.